Oh yeah. Peace to all of the men and women who stay in the truth, who try to keep the commandments as best as they can, best of their possibility, best as their ability, as children of Yah, as adopted sons and daughters of Yah. I'm gonna go through what I think I'm going to call this tape. It's just my growing, ever growing impatience with um, New Testament junkies, New Testament block huggers, so to speak, book huggers. I got some notes here, and I also got the Bible with me. I want to say some things about that too. As a matter of fact, take this too. And let's get down to this. Let's get down to business here. I was having a debate, and we want to turn into a debate. It just turned into a discussion between me, a black male who was passing out pamphlets about Galatians, and I believe it was Galatians 20 and 13. But I'm going to go through Galatians because there has been more than one or a few who have been talking about the New Testament and how they're not held to a law and not held to a statutes, law, and commandments. In addition to that, like they have been saved by grace through believing, and faith is the only thing that they have to follow or believe that they need to get into the kingdom. And I'm here to tell you that that is a farce. That is false. That's not the truth. If you read the Bible, you will see and you will know that it tells you to do more than that. If you can read and see what you are looking at instead of being biased out of your own eye. But I digress. I just wanted to get into some scriptures that talk about it. It was a young, not a young man. He was older than me. I'm 42 years old. He was older than me. He was passing out pamphlets, and they had a New Testament only doctrine in them. He didn't have a Bible. He had pamphlets. He was passing them around. He passed one to me. I skimmed over it, and immediately I knew he was a New Testament freak. And so I asked him the question. I said, do you believe that you are an Israelite? Which is what I usually ask those types who are out on the streets passing around pamphlets. And he said that he is not a Jew. And I said, oh boy, you don't know the elementary of to what you're studying, sir. And so I showed him, I talked to him, and I showed him that Yeshua comes from the bloodline of David. This comes through the bloodline of Abraham. And David had a son. His name was Solomon. And if we look at the accounts, we can see that the physical description, which they were all told to write this down in a book so that you can document it, was the actual physical description of the Mashiach, the Messiah, Yeshua, and also Solomon. He was tanned. He worked in the vineyard. He talked about that in his own writings. And so we're talking about black men here. With David, black men here. And I went to the chapter 5 in Deuteronomy, where it shows us who we should be and should not be reproducing with as a nation. And I read to him that it wasn't the Hivites, the Perizzites, the Girgashites, the Canaanites. It wasn't the Assyrians. Okay, so if I name some dark nations that were not us at the time, which were the Cushites and the Ethiopians, which were not of the seed of Shem, they're the seed of Ham. And if there were some black people that came out of Israel who were not the seed of Ham, and they were still black because it was a tradition for them to go down into Egypt and to hide amongst the people. Prophets did this long before the Mashiach had done it. So if it was a tradition for us to hide amongst the Africans and we were dark like them, then how could it be that we were still Hamites? No, we had to be the Negro race described of as America, Brazil, Britain, Iraq, Samoa, America, and everywhere else you can think of that we were scattered amongst all the peoples on this planet. And after bringing that about, he told me that skin color. He said skin color can't get you into heaven. But that's not the conversation that we were having. We were having a conversation that was based upon whether or not the people who you didn't believe or your people had come through the Bible were or were not. Okay? So this is the trouble that I have with these truth shakers. Okay? Whether they be Gentiles or Israelites, they are truth shakers. And they will bring up a argument that supports their agenda. And the agenda is they are extremely terrified of an all-black family. They have no idea what that was like. They have no faith in it. And this is what we're trying to get to, is the faith part. Okay? It boils down to your faith in these people. Your faith in yourself. Your faith, just like Abraham was the original faith. And then it broken down to our iniquity of sins through the laws, which were of the flesh, because we are already dead according to. So therefore we had to follow those laws because we were already dead based on Adam and the fall of the Garden of Eden. So now the one that releases from that is the only begotten Son, the Alpha and Omega, the Mashiach, the Messiah, Yeshua, who came to fulfill those and destroy them in the flesh so that we can have faith in his resurrection. Because we were sacrificing to bulls and rams and stealing stuff, and it's not real. It's a fake sacrifice. We have done that for so long amongst the generation of kings that have been so deep in their iniquity towards serving other gods. We didn't, after them, we were really messed up in terms of our traditions, our long history of tradition. It was only like 1 or 2, 3 kings, Solomon and his father David. Saul was mostly good, and then he went bad. And then it was David. He was good all the way through. He took out all the high places, all the temples. He made sure that everything was clean. Solomon came after that, and he was given the peace. He was mostly good. He didn't take away all the high places of Baal and all the places that were sacrificing afterwards. So we have really ruined our gift, our spiritual contract to the Most High. And so that the Most High could, because he still promised that Abraham's seed will live on throughout the generations forever, he had to make sure that he can align that correctly now, even through our transgressions, while being righteous, completely, purely righteous, so that he can still bring his Alpha and Omega through all of that, so that we can still have a chance at redemption, so we can be adopted sons through the faith, because the law had been transgressed so many times that it was nothing to the Most High anymore. It had to been his purity was like, you know what, I'm just going to make a sacrifice for myself so that I can be appeased, because otherwise you'd have been just like Sodom and Gomorrah. I'd have destroyed you a long time ago based on my righteousness. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a way for you because of my promise. Not because of you, but because of my promise through Abraham that his seed will live through, and I will still choose you. So I'm going to send my son so that he can give you a new guard to this new life of redemption. And it speaks about that in Galatians. And the thing is that a lot of our brothers and sisters, God bless them, Yeshaya, you bless them, Ahaya, may Ahaya bless your soul, is that they don't understand the connection to their iniquity, to this present day and time. What they don't understand is that it's not logical and it's not prosperous for any God or any entity that is on that level to say, look, I have sent somebody to destroy your sins, but yet I'm still not going to hold you to the law. That's illogical. That doesn't make sense. What it means is that I am so righteous that I'm going to give you somebody who could live through the law and make it null and void, which it was null and void to me because of what you've done over your genealogical process of iniquity. And what I'm going to do is send my son so that he can alleviate all that, so he can be the ultimate sacrifice for me and for you, so that you may be adopted sons, so that I can continue to bless you through Abraham. So it's like a brilliant lawyer trying to put together case law so that you can get at least some life sentence with some possibility of parole. Now we have possibility of parole because the ultimate sacrifice that came through precedent law, through us, through Yeshaya, through the lawgiver, which was his son. So he came through our loins in terms of our genealogical background as Israelites. But he's an ultimate sacrifice so that there can be a law that appeases the Most High God. Not just us, but him. We was done already. He just wants to clear it up for himself and at the same time make us adopted sons. So that's who we are today. We still got a chance at redemption if we believe that we can live this life and treat each other properly through his example. His example was the commandments. Okay? It just said you can't live by law alone based on the simple fact that you haven't been living by law alone. You whacked that up many centuries before. So now, okay, since you can't do that, you believe and you follow the commandments. How about that? And that's what it's saying, if you look at it. Because Paul wrote Corinthians, he wrote Romans, he wrote Galatians, he wrote Philemon. I mean, you go on. He wrote a lot of books in the Bible. Okay? So you got to take a step back and you got to analyze and you got to see what he's talking about. Now, the book of Galatians, which all the Galatian huggers of these new church era people coming out the woodworks, passing out pamphlets or whatever, trying to say that all you got to do is just believe and have the law. He said he only followed a young man. Well, he ain't young, but he a dude that I saw, and he's like, all you got to do is follow 2 commandments. I was like, oh, is that what they're teaching you in the church? He's like, and all you got to do is follow 2 commandments. I said, what are those? He says the law, the commandment of love, and the commandment of faith. And I said, what is it? You show me in the Bible where it says all you got to do is have faith and love. And I'll show you that you got to follow all the commandments. Because think about it like this. He said, he was talking about Romans 8 and 9. I'm going to read Romans 8 and 9. Here we go. It says, owe no one anything except to love one another. For he who loves another has fulfilled the law. 9. For the commandments, you shall not commit adultery, you shall not murder, you shall not steal, you shall not bear false witness, you shall not covet, you shall, and if there is any other commandment, all are summed up in this saying, namely, you shall love your neighbor as yourself. Love does not harm, and it does no harm to their neighbor. Therefore, love is the fulfillment of the law. So when he told me love is the fulfillment of the law, when I started going through it, and as I started to read this, it says adultery, stealing, false witness, you should never covet. I mean, what basically loving your neighbor then is following the commandments, because all he's doing is just breaking down the commandments. So if you follow the commandments, then that is the love of your brother. It is the love of the Most High. It's one and the same. So when you back up and you look at this stuff, you can understand that the concept of Christ was to kill the hardships of what it takes to be a sinner in the flesh. Because the law was created because we were embodied by and imprisoned by our flesh. So therefore there wouldn't be no need for no law because of the sin of Adam, because we had no knowledge of that. So now that we got knowledge of it, you got a law. But here we are, so many, centuries later, it ain't working for you. You ain't passing the test. I'm going to help you out, but I'm not going to discard the law, because logically, if I sent faith to you, which was my son, who himself followed the commandments and told you to be like he was, follow his example, then he's telling you to follow the commandments and also have faith. He's telling you to do both. Not just one, both. Okay? I'm sorry to break it to you. You got to follow the commandments, and you got to have faith in the Mashiach as well. Because think about it. I mean, let's if you want to debate me or debate anybody, this is not a debate though. It's just about reading what's in front of you, Mira. This is like for our people. This is for us to understand and to get. This is not a debate. This is for us to love, to understand, and get a new mind and a new heart and a new soul. Because if you want to talk about the New Testament and how the laws are done away with, no. Let's go to the very end of this book. In chapter 22 in Revelations. Okay? Verse 14 and 15. Now, if the laws are done away with, then why in the world would, I believe it's John, write in the very end of it exactly what you need to do in order to get into heaven? Listen. The book of Revelations, chapter 22, verse 14 and 15. And it reads, "Blessed are those who do his commandments, that they may have the right to the tree of life, and may enter through the gates into," where? "The city." And it goes further to tell you who ain't going to be in the kingdom. It tells you how to get into it, because it's a physical thing on this planet, how to get into it, what to do, and who ain't going to be in it. For all you Second Testament, Brand New Testament development discoveries of, I don't have to follow the prophecy of the commandments, who don't read this book. Listen. Guess who ain't getting inside? It tells you that too. Listen up. It says, "But outside are who? Dogs and sorcerers and sexually immoral and murderers and adulterers and whoever loves and practices a lie. So if you don't believe in the words in this book, you are going to believe in a lie. Because it's not an easy pill to swallow altogether. Because the Most High that you believe in ain't the one that you've been accustomed to. You live in a world of iniquity, of injustice. And they've been lying to you about every damn thing. God, everybody. But let's get into Romans from Galatians. All right? So we're going to get into Galatians first because I want to give them the benefit of the doubt, because I understand where they have come from. I understand where they're coming from. After listening to a whole bunch of pastor rhetoric with bouncing around and checking out what scriptures that they want to find for themselves in order to bury themselves in order to get you to believe in that the God that you serve is a one-dimensional one. Okay, he doesn't care about physical complexion or complexity of skin color and genealogy and background. They don't care about the firstborn or the one who will come after and the older who will serve the younger. They don't care about none of that. But all of that's in the Bible. They don't care about none of that, do they? Okay. We're going to show you that they actually do. While still not favoring Israelites. They're still not going to show our people favoritism. Yeshua didn't do that. He was ultimate justice. He was for the Gentiles and the Israelites alike. We had screwed up long enough and we needed someone to come and show us the way. But the thing is the justice, the overall pure righteousness of the man who was here came and showed you how to walk with your enemy, because vengeance is his. You don't understand the deepness of this. Karma still reigns supreme. That's why we got resurrected prophets coming, resurrected messiahs coming. Yeah, we get that. Well, the laws of resurrection is coming. The Most High is a very deep individual. But the thing is that he ain't forgot. He still wants you to be soft and gentle and have strength of patience, perseverance, tolerance. He wants you to tolerate these knuckleheads. I know. You've been tolerating them enough. I'll get you. You're right. You've been tolerating them enough. I understand that. But he still wants you to be like his son and have the strength. Because anything that you get delivered out of as a people is straight up about grace. You ain't gonna do no work to get these nuclear bombs off your ass. It ain't gonna happen. Or these soldiers, or the militia, or the paramilitary, or the private paramilitary, or the gang tactical units, or the FBI, all the subdivisions of the FBI, all the ones walking around with regular civilian clothes on. You have no idea. They'll John Wick you so quick. No, this ain't coming from you. Remember, the world has been given over to the hand of the wicked. So use your imagination on how wicked they are. There ain't no you rising up as a people in America. No, he's going to judge this place. And then the ones who escape. Well, that's a different story. We'll get into that later. But as for now, we'll talk about this. The interesting book of Galatians that so many, I don't want to follow the commandments, Christ believing junkies want to cling to. And they want to cling to it, and I got my personal opinion about it because of my personal experiences with them, because one of them told me I wasn't even his brother, based on me just showing him that he got to follow the commandments in Romans. Matter of fact, I'll say it right here. You know, that in Romans 2, chapter 2, 12 and 13, it reads, Romans 2, chapter 12 and 13. And it reads, "For as many as have sinned without law will also perish without law. And as many have sinned in the law will be judged by the law. For not the errors of the law are just in the sight of Yah, but the doers of the law will be justified. For when Gentiles who do not have the law by nature do the things in the law, and these, although not having the law, are a law to themselves, who show the work of the law written in their hearts, the conscience also bearing witness, and between themselves their thoughts, accusing or else excusing them in the day when Yah will judge the secrets of men by Yeshua the Christ, according to my gospel. So indeed, you are called a Jew, and the rest on the law. You called a Jew and you rest on the law. You believe in the law because you was a Jew. And make your boast in Yah, and know his will, and approve the things that are excellent, and being instructed out of the law. Right? So this is about a conversation of how many of us who are Israelites were under the law. We knew it, and we were practicing in the law, and we weren't being faithful to the law completely. And in addition, it says here, this is what the New Testament people love to cling on to as their arguments for just following the faith and not following the commandments. And it says here, the chapter 3 in Romans chapter 3, verse 19, and I'm going to read it through 31st, because this is very important. Because I read this, and as I'm going through, a week ago with this guy and his arguments, he was shaking his head and nodding with me. He was nodding with me. Yes, we don't have to follow law, until I read the end. I said, you have to read the whole chapter. This man, he wrote several books in this book called the New Testament. So you got to read all of his books. You have to read everything he was saying in order to understand. So I'm going to read right here. I'm going to start with verse 19 in chapter 3 of the book of Romans, written by Paul. It says here, now we know that whatever the law says, it says to those who are under the law, that every mouth may be stopped, and all the world may be stopped, and all the world may become guilty before Yah. Therefore, by the deeds of the law, no flesh will be justified in his sight. Like I had just described earlier. Ain't no flesh going to be justified in his sight, because people were stealing rams and goats, and they weren't even paying for the sacrifices that they were making. This was in ancient times. He's like, I'm putting a stop to that. Your offers to me are weak. You're guilty of not caring about what you're giving up to me. I don't feel what you're saying. I don't feel your prayers. I don't feel what's going on. No, we got to make a new sacrifice. I'm sick with you. I need to be appeased. I'm sending my sacrifice that I find just. That's what this is talking about. Because otherwise there wouldn't be no need for the ultimate sacrifice, which was Yeshua. Has no need for that other than this. Because that's where faith comes. And faith started through Abraham. Abraham was the original faith. That's the only way you can please God, is if you're obedient and if you follow, if you're faithful. That's it. Because you don't know nothing. We don't know nothing. He is the Ancient of Days. We know nothing. Okay? We get screwed around with in ways we don't even understand under these demonic laws. that were given unto the system of Satan and white supremacy worldwide when it first really took a hold in 70 AD. So we don't get the world that we live in. Okay? He comes and revisits us every third to fourth generations because we don't understand everything. We got to come back to get it. That's why resurrection is possible. Check it out. And it says here, but now the righteousness of Yah, apart from the law,